So, guys, it's New Year's, New Year 2024, new creepypastas, new Jeff Fury, all that stuff. Yeah, I know. But hey, tonight, let's party like it's 1999.
Yeah!
Woo! Yeah!
Woo!
I'm going straight. Oh, hello, and welcome to Aldente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have, for our New Year's special, this is definitely like out of the ordinary since it's not a Thursday. But yeah, for New Year's, for the new year of 2024, we decided to go back in time. Gotta get back in time. To a little known creepypasta. You may have heard of it. 1999. Specifically the Slack Lane blog original version. By Camden Lamont. So yeah, we're touching on this one because this story, this creepypasta, 1999, was the first creepypasta I was ever introduced to. And it basically set me on this path of like reading creepy stories online from various internet people and then wanting to do this show and stuff. So
10 or 15 or 30 years to look at it.
Yeah, nearly 10 years on, we're finally getting to it. There's definitely not a lost episode somewhere in there.
No, why would there be?
Not because of controversy over various versions of this story, which the author did not sanction, or the original author did not sanction. No, certainly not.
No.
But yeah, so 1999 is on the Slack Lane blog, and you can check it out there. We'll leave a link in the description below. Like I said, it's by Camden Lamont, and this is the original version. Do not read any imitators. So yeah, before we get too far in, let's give our initial recommendations. So for this story, the one that sparked my inspiration to start reading creepypastas and start reviewing them on a show with my friends at a podcast.
Not recommended.
I'm going to conditionally recommend it, bordering on partial recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't want. I was like, have to like jokingly do like not recommend, but like, yeah. I was very curious to see like how like future me, who I guess is now present me, was going to how I was going to feel about rereading this story after almost 10 years. So, and the results were rather fascinating. So, but yeah, my initial recommendation is conditional recommendation, bordering on a partial recommendation. So, Mikey, your initial recommendation.
I am not going to recommend this.
Okay, fair.
Interesting.
And gamer,
I'm going to recommend this one.
just straight up recommend it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are the we are the trifecta. It's just like
this is the Triforce of recommendations here.
It's like see no evil, see no evil, hear no evil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's dive in and find out why we gave those recommendations and what are our thoughts on this little creepypasta from Ontario. Starting with the rundown, not featuring The Rock because we know Elliot's name. So back in 1999, as Elliot recounts on his blog in 2009, he was 5 years old and starting to pick up and watch a weird set of kids shows on a channel called Caledon Local 21. His interest in the programming kind of like waned. Like there were peaks and valleys in his interest in the programming over the course of several months, which often and this programming often featured a group of kids and an adult man in a bear costume, usually in the Mr. Bear's cellar. So you can already kind of see where that's going. It was very low quality and like done on a camcorder, clearly. And recounting it now that he's more mature, he realizes there's like certain red flags about the situation with these kid shows. But at the time, he really liked it, mostly because he didn't really understand the context and stuff. And it was enough to even send a letter to Mr. Bear when there was a segment on the show where viewers could send letters to a certain address. It was from here that he got invited to Mr. Bear's house, and his dad negligently drove him there, thinking this weird kid show was on the up and up. Not actually having seen any of the shows or anything like that, just kind of going along with like whatever his kid was saying.
Well, I mean, it's on TV.
Yeah. I know the 90s were like simpler, stupider times, but like,
Yes.
come on. There's definitely grade A dad material here. They get to this dingy farmhouse outside of Caledon, Ontario, where police were investigating the house. Apparently, they too had been monitoring the channel and had only recently gone in when some really bad stuff happened. It would be some time before Elliot's dad told him what had happened, as it had rightfully shocked his dad about the whole situation. Turns out the man playing Mr. Bear had created this set of fake kid shows and broadcasted on a local channel to lure unsuspecting children to his house so that he could trap them, play with them, and then later kill them by burning them in a pit in the woods nearby.
Not killing, sacrificing.
Yes, sacrificing them to the
It's a little
fallen angel.
different.
Yeah, sacrificing them to the fallen angel Satan.
Our Lord and Savior.
Yeah. I mean, what?
Sorry, his Lord and Savior.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to make a collect call to not just Cthulhu, but also to a certain king in yellow.
No, don't tell him.
So
New Year's resolution to tell him this year.
Oh God, that you're a Satanist. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just
getting back to
everybody, I'm actually not.
yeah. Disclosure: I am not a Satanist.
Yeah.
This is a joke. Please don't assume. Makes an ass of you and me.
Yes.
Getting back to the story, Mr. Bear was never caught, and this all brought Elliot to recount this on his blog, and then start investigating it further over a decade later, as his dad's friend, a retired cop, could show him some of the tapes the police had recovered, apparently. We then get a series of entries that have Elliot going to Caledon between university and other life things, looking around the old house and the woods Mr. Barry had used, getting information on the history and the urban legends that have spawned about Mr. Bear and his activities from the local town, and watching various tapes he hadn't seen at local police stations. This blog went on for about 3 years, and with fans and readers asking questions, which Elliot would answer occasionally when he remembered the blog existed. And also having assholes email him fake prank emails that they were Mr. Bear and such. Eventually, between the hundreds of prank emails and watching the most graphic of the tapes, the ones where the kids are filmed being burned in the pit, Elliot is pretty well done with this whole thing. Except he's not, because he wants to go and watch some more of the tapes the police have, and he'll update when he can. Spoilers, we never hear from him again, and the blog after that. Mm-hmm. There was also a hack to his blog where someone added an entry that was a morbid poem to Elliot from Mr. Bear. And it might have been Mr. Bear or just another pranking asshole. But with that all said, that is the end of 1999. So, with that all out of the way, I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grime Inquisitions. At this point, I've got a few. So, and I don't know about you guys, but I jotted down my notes and added the timestamp on the entries for like better categorization.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. Did any of you guys do that, or did you guys just like?
I tried.
I tried so hard, it got so far.
I did it for my notes. I didn't do for me.
That's fair. Well, I'm gonna start with this one here. So, July 1999, Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 23. This episode was entertaining for my friend and me, mainly because it had swearing. It's supposed to be for my friend and I. Yeah, I'm gonna be that asshole.
He's a 15-year-old kid.
I understand.
Give him a break.
No, it's the bit. Moving on to update May 8th, 2010. I came to a thinner part of the woods and few small houses in the distance. I think it should be, I came to a thinner part of the woods with a few small houses in the distance.
How dare yeah.
And then in the same entry, there's also this. But now you're probably wondering why I left out such detail about what the kids told me just now. It is because I'm choosing to conclude what I have gathered now. So I think you just need to remove the second "it" there. So it's like about what the kids told me just now. It is because I'm choosing to conclude what I have gathered now. So
yes.
And then the next one I have is an update, October 7th, 2010. But in all my seriousness, I really have been busy these past few months, and a blog about something that could have killed me as a kid is a little low on my current priorities list. So for me, I feel like it should be, but in all seriousness, not in all my seriousness. Because isn't that how the term goes, or the turn of phrases is like, but in all seriousness. So
for us, yeah, it might be colloquially different somewhere else, but yeah.
Well, this person is from Ontario, Canada.
But colloquially, it might be. yeah.
Sure. And then the next thing I have here, same entry. I have two more that are in the same entry, and then I'm done. I swear. What I saw was a simple pipe, possibly to channel the access water from the marsh. I think it's supposed to be excess water, not access. So like,
yeah.
Just because like the excess water, yeah. Like, so instead of like access ACCESS, it should be excess EXCESS.
Yes. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was reading this, a couple of these grammar things you're bringing up, I absolutely noticed. But and I absolutely just went, "Oh, he meant this." Moving on.
Yeah, fair enough.
I had time.
I don't know. Yeah.
I was just like, I want to read this. Fuck it.
Fair. Yeah. And then we're going to move on to the one. Speaking, actually, this is a good segue from what you just said, because regarding the email from Mr. Bear. There are a bunch of typos in it, but I refuse to comment on them specifically because it's how the crazy child killer types an email.
Yeah,
badly.
How would you type with bear gloves on?
Yeah, with
You're
bear
not
paws.
Strong bad. You can't type with boxing gloves.
Exactly.
On.
So,
and it's your 1999 reference.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what? It's even copy pasted in setting into the blog, so it's just that extra immersion level for me. So yeah, I'm not going to actually comment anything on the typos in the email from Mr. Bear, of which there are many.
From everything that you just commented on.
I'm not commenting on them specifically. I'm commenting on them vaguely, but explaining that they're fine as is, because I would expect there to be typos in a shitty email from a serial killer.
Yes, indeed.
So,
and he did say specifically, "I've copy and pasted this."
Exactly. So, yeah, there's perfect amount of room for bad grammar and spelling in this.
And in that section, I assume the bracketed stuff are parts that he put in to explain what he's talking about.
I think so, yeah.
Because I doubt Mr. Bear would have put the brackets in that to give clarification.
Yeah. That would be pretty funny. It's like, but yeah, that is the end of my grammar inquisition. Mikey, the E stands for evil.
Well, not so much a grammar inquisition, but a conjunction junction.
Ooh. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
So, of course, every time I came home from school, I would stay glued to the TV until Pokemon came on at 5. It also only had 20 channels available, not including the channel Pokemon was on. It wasn't for another few months until I discovered Channel 21. It was always a kid, and then it just stopped. It was summer, and I hadn't watched Channel 21 for a while, until one day when I slept over at my friend's house and I decided to check it out again. It was studied a lot by the police. And guess what I actually did? So I wrote a letter, using my best writing possible. I think I just said how I wanted to meet Mr. Bear. So my dad sent the letter to the address Mr. Bear said on the show. It stayed on all day anyway for some reason. It took about a week to get a response, which I was surprised I did. And then that's when the police became involved. Those endless questions, those pictures of terrified kids, the woods. It looked like an older farmhouse that looked to have been built in the early 1900s. And then we just went home. But while most people thought he was a serial child molester, he really wanted to use the kids for another purpose. It should be my right to know what the hell happened. It appeared to be during the evening, as it seemed the sun was setting. It actually sounded really stupid, but still a feeling of dread came over me. I mean, that forest was possibly where those bodies were found, right? And where is the storm drain? But now you're probably wondering why I left out such detail about what the kids told me just now. It because I'm choosing to conclude what I have gathered now. And other questions like these leave the story invalid. But in all my seriousness, I really have been busy these past few months, and a blog about something that could have killed me as a kid is a little low on my current priorities list. But as you can see now, I am back. It was out in a clearing between the wooded areas nearby a marsh. It just didn't seem important anymore. It wasn't until only recently that I am now interested in my case again. So, the scenario of a pedo renting a channel on basic TV is not far-fetched at all. So, if this happened in the US, the pedo would be tracked and arrested immediately. But then I shrugged it off, so he did too. It didn't really work, though. It has been a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. So I braved the slushy roads and terrible Brampton drivers and made my way to the Peel Region Police Station located at the Bramalia City Center.
It's actually Bramley. Just FYI. Sorry.
Grammar inquisitioning.
No, I know that place.
It's fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
The Bramley City Center.
Yeah.
And you know what? But the fallen angel needed even more help, So the children had to give the ultimate sacrifice. Because that's what friends do, Elliot. But now is the time to come clean to everyone. Where have I been for an entire year? It was like a dream. Finn.
What?
The only way that could have ended worse is if he said, it was a dream. Like the whole thing was a dream.
Yeah. Spinning top.
Yeah. I like how early on, the way that this was constructed, the way that you constructed it, rather, with your using your sentences that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words to use. Basically made it sound like it went the way it should have went in real life, aka the police were monitoring the TV station, and they know that this guy's up to no good, and they see, okay, he's putting his address out there for other kids to come by. This is where we can nail him. The first kid that sends a mail in to that address, track that, let Mr. Bear get it, let him send it back, and then we see where it goes, and then we intercept the kid on the way over and tell him, like, it's basically like basically to set him up so the cops are there when they see that he's doing bad shit so they can get him.
Yeah, it's a sting operation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what they should have fucking done right off the bat, like like off the hop. Instead of like 13 kids in or 17 kids or whatever amount of kids this guy had.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in actual thoughts. But yeah, no. That was also a pretty almost concise like rundown of 1999 too, to a degree.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It got the for the most part the story beats down.
Yes. Which shows that there's probably a lot of sentences that start with words that they probably shouldn't.
I was actually
but then again, half the story is written by a 15-year-old.
Yes.
And
also
another bit is written by 25-year-old, I guess.
Yeah. There were also a fair amount of entries he was passing by, because like I was actually tracking like the sentences as Mikey was writing it this time, and I was like having to like scroll down much faster near the end. So there weren't as many conjunctions as there could have been.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, Gamer in Yellow. What do we got for the grammar in yellow?
Oh yeah, I have to do things. Okay. I'm just relaxing, drinking the coffee. It's like, oh shit.
You mean that's an Irish coffee, right? Because like it's New Year's.
Yes. Yes. Yes, of course. I'm getting wasted. So anyways, do the rest of the recording sounding drunk the whole time. That won't be annoying.
No, that won't be at all.
No. Alright, so my first one. No, I won't do it. So over my first one here, it's the entire police thing is coming back. That has brought 1999 back to me. Over a decade later, it is happening again, is what he says.
Yeah.
It's technically not over a decade, it's exactly a decade.
Yeah, 2009. Yeah.
It's exactly, like, specifically exactly.
Was the update even the same as like well, yeah, like
the events happened in 1999, and
the
part that I'm reading happened in 2000.
Well,
yeah, but I mean month-wise, like it's like the
I'm sorry.
Month-wise, it's slightly over a decade.
Oh, okay.
It's like a month or two off, sir.
So it's technically over a decade.
Yeah, because his story ended in 1999 in August. And the updates, like we can surmise that the first update was either November or just before November, because of the first update timestamp we get is November 14th, 2009.
So I guess technically it is over a decade. That's fine. This first one was a nitpick anyways.
Okay.
And then we get down a little bit where there's a Q&A section where people have been asking him questions and he's answering them.
Yeah.
He being Elliot. And the questions are, where is Mr. Bear, or the guy who wore the costume? He says, if I did know, I would have said it earlier. I have no idea where this guy is, or if he's dead or alive. Hopefully dead. When I see my dad's friend next time, I will ask him about this. Maybe I can get a more definite answer. And then the next question is, what did Mr. Bear do to the children? This is by far the most common question I've been asked. I found this out in October as well via my dad's friend via. Do you say via or via? Potato?
Yeah, potato, I think, honestly.
Okay. Potato, my dad's friend, who is a retired Paladin regional officer. So
much, I hate you.
It's fine. So I bring these
Jimmy, it's the same word on the teleprompter.
Yes. So I bring these two questions and answers up because I feel like they should be swapped because the way that we are the way that we are drip fed information about the dad's friend is completely backwards because they start saying like, I'll ask my dad's friend about it, like assuming we know about him, and then later on says, oh, he's a retired Paladin police officer.
Yeah, so like, I feel like also like this one is by far the most common question. Should this not get prioritized to the top of the list of Q&A?
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's asking this, so I'm answering this right out the gate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the main thing is just the drip feed of
and
friends seemed weird.
Yeah, because also like that, we get introduced to his friend, his dad's friend. And then at the end, it's like, oh, like I've already talked to him, but like next time I see him, because I'm going to be seeing him later, I'll ask him about this as well.
Yeah. And we don't even get his name until way after this, too.
Yeah.
But moving on. Oh, speaking of, my dad's friend did not want to go into exact details, but I'm seeing him next Thursday anyway. So maybe I can extort more information from him then. So does Elliot have some dirt on this guy to blackmail him, or is he going to beat the shit out of him? Why extort? Should it be extract?
Extort is also appropriate the word.
Are you sure about that?
I'm looking it up right now.
I looked it up, and it's like getting information by like unlawful or sketchy means.
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, obtain something by force, threat, or other unfair means. Like, why?
Yeah, so I think he should be saying extract some more information.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
simply get.
Yeah,
because you can't go wrong with the get.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, extract is probably the better word, not extort. But I mean, to pull a U, I mean, he is a 15-year-old kid, so like, you gotta go easy on him. How does it feel, gamer?
It doesn't feel good, okay? But no, that's the end of my grammar.
Okay. Well, let's move on to actual thoughts. The meat and potatoes of our show here. Mm-hmm. Certainly for me, anyway. So I'm going to start with so this is from the intro entry, the quote I'm pulling. Pokemon cards, games, stickers, and the most popular, the TV show. So of course, every time I came home from school, I would stay glued to the TV until Pokemon came on at 5. The only problem was that my dad watched the news at 5:30, and Pokemon episodes were back to back, which meant I had to miss an entire episode every day, something I whined on and on about. You know, this struck me as odd because growing up in my family, we watched the news almost religiously at 6. So I went and did a little bit of Googling to check some on Ontario-based news shows that started at 5:30.
Oh no!
Sure enough, I find Global News, which airs out of Toronto, starts at 5:30. I guess we were more of a VR news, or as it is now, CTV news family growing up.
The new VR.
Yeah, the new VR. Yeah, So yeah, because that one. Yeah, and then they switched. They just went to CTV. So.
Yes. Anyways.
Yeah, I was just like, this is just the start of my me realizing just how I really connected to the story from the start of the game, or right at the gate, with stuff like that. So, and it continues on with the next thing here. My dad put the TV he bought in my room. Unfortunately, it was just an old small boob TV with rabbit ears even. it also only had 20 channels available, not including the channel Pokemon was on. I recall I didn't care though. I was just thrilled I had my own TV in my room. Gosh, this TV doesn't even doesn't even get YTV channel 25 on cable. Honestly,
I never had YTV on bunny ears.
What?
I never had YTV on bunny ears back in the day.
Oh, really?
It had to be cable.
I had the new VR, Global News, and Static.
Well, and that's here. This is actually where I'm getting. That first bit was a bit, but like to the actual seriousness. In all seriousness, in all my seriousness, honestly, this already has really pulled me in because this was my experience growing up in the 90s, being a Pokemon fan, watching YTV, which had Pokemon on it. And YTV is for anybody who's from who's not from Canada. YTV is stands for youth TV, youth television, and was an Ontario-based kids programming channel. And was fucking awesome in the 90s. I was a Pokemon fan. I watched YTV, which had Pokemon on it, and was also the channel to watch shows as a kid, next to Channel 2, which was TVO, TV Ontario, and Channel 29, which was Channel 28, which was Fox Network on Saturday morning cartoons segments. I even got a TV in my room around this time in the 90s that was a small boob TV that only got a few select channels. Even the scouring for signals plays in, because at my family's cottage growing up, specifically, we had only 2 or 3 strong channels, and then the rest was a static mess. So again, all of this it was really easy for me to see why this story connected with me when I first was introduced to it, reading it as a creepypasta. And then later on, it even goes that where Elliot lives, the city near Caledon, Brampton. And that was my neck of the woods as a kid. I didn't live in Brampton specifically, but I was living adjacently to Brampton. I visited Brampton constantly as a kid.
So Brampton curious, at least.
Yeah. Again, hence why I know it's called Bramley, not Bramley. It's the Bramley city center. Yeah. But yeah, this, I was able to visualize the locations. I even have relatives in Caledon. So I was able to visualize most of the story because I had been there before. Yeah. So this was starting the story again, rereading it for the again after 10 years. I was it felt like coming home.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, it was I was Elliot. I could envision myself as Elliot, as the kid from the 90s.
Yeah, well, it's exact opposite for me because he had too many channels. And I was like, ooh, la-di-da, mister, I have channels.
Growing again at my cottage, we had it was you might get 2 global, and maybe there's another channel within the
global
first.
And VR always came in really strong.
Yeah, they came in really strong. You might get a third one, I think, in the 20 in actually around the channel 20s area, but it was always a hit or miss, and it was never fully clear.
That was our entertainment back then. We had that and the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah. Or Sega.
Kids these days are so damn lucky with their YouTubes and their TikToks.
And their tablets everywhere. No.
And streaming.
Yeah.
God, imagine streaming back in the 90s.
Oh my God, it would have destroyed us.
Yeah.
And my other note here is about him having a remote control for his TV. And I was like, oh, Mr. Fancy Pants here with remote control.
Back in my day, we had a dial.
Yeah.
Heck, we even had
90s.
Another thing about the cottage TV that was similar. We didn't have we had an antenna array, but it wasn't that big crazy all the shiny sticks and stuff like that, like that kind of network thing. It was a little UFO that was over our our cottage, and we had a little corded remote that we'd have to turn, and it would turn the UFO, the saucer, like slightly to get a strong enough signal from across the lake to where the new VR was playing and stuff too. So
did you ever get satellite?
My cousin had about halfway into my childhood, I think when I was 12 or something like that, my cousin across the way from our cottage had gotten American satellite. So we suddenly had Cartoon Network and all these other channels and stuff.
That's what I had. A little bit later into me being a kid, we did get an American satellite, so I had a freaking 10-foot black satellite dish in the back. And when I changed stations, you see it go.
It's
I miss the analog, man.
I remember there was an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode that where the characters were using their parents' satellite array to get to watch TV and stuff like that. And I remember it's I can relate to this. This is what my cousin had or something similar. It's just this giant model megalithic satellite dish in the back, just
yeah.
Anyway, so again, I lived Elliot's childhood. So it was really easy for me to dive into this story and connect with the character and visualize the world that he was living in. I think honestly that's what made this story so much special for me. It was my home. It was effectively my hometown. This creepypasta takes place in, which you always win me over when you do something like that. When a story is inadvertently in a place that I have lived in or been to, I am instantly connected to it because of the familiarization. So, but I'll continue. I'll move on. So this is from entry April 1999. The show featured a guy wearing a bear mask or a bear mascot costume who would get a new visitor into his cellar every day. It was always a kid. The show was filmed with a camcorder, and not a very good one either. The police asked me a lot of questions about this show. This episode started with Mr. Bear sitting at a table playing checkers by himself. He sat there playing for a bit until there was a knock at the door. I like this little, just this little insertion of that something is very wrong here. Not just the scenario that you were getting of the skeevy Mr. Bear camcorder footage, but the fact that the story just insinuates, just kind of inserts this little that the police had already spoken to Elliot prior to him posting this blog about this incident and this events and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's
the foreshadowing of it, and it sets the mood. For this, because it's already sketchy based on the description, but then it's no, the cops talked to me about this.
Okay. Just that little insert of the show was filmed on a camcorder and not a very good one either. The police asked me quite a lot of questions about this show. The episode started and then it keeps going. I was oh, it's it was a nice little foreshadow, like you said, it was a nice little foreshadowing moment of what's to come, and we all kind of see coming at some point in this in these early entries or these early bits. Then the next thing I have here, August 1999. I cannot believe my dad never found this sketchy, because he actually took me to the house, and then that's when the police became involved. Those endless questions, those pictures of terrified kids, the woods, ... Yeah, seriously, super not dad of the year. There were so many red flags. Also,
I mean, he had to get home to watch the football game.
Watch the news at 5:30.
Yeah.
Also, not to just throw the dad under the bus here, the police, the OP fucking P, had been monitoring this situation for a while, and the show supposedly had been airing an address for months, or for a month. How come the OPP didn't go and check the property way earlier? Did they really need more probable cause?
Apparently they did.
And maybe they just could not get that warrant.
Is the only kid that actually sent mail in. That's why they were waiting for like confirmation that yes, he is asking this kid to come over.
I guess maybe Mr. Bear was like maybe before, like, because there were obviously he had kids like pop up before he had the address. So like maybe he was going around in a bus saying free candy. Like he's that guy.
That's what I assumed. But
Yeah,
when those kids quote unquote dried up, he asked for more.
Yeah, when they burned up and crisped and dried up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He asked for more. Yeah. he decided to get ballsy and go with an airing an address to children.
Yep.
God, it's so fucking skeevy and creepy.
It is.
But also, anybody who's not a Canadian or an Ontarian, the OPP is the Ontario Provincial Police, which
you said it was the OPFP actually.
Yeah, the OP fucking P. Yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. This is from Update November 14th, 2009. My dad actually drove me to Caledon along with the address Mr. Bear left on the letter. The house was actually in the outskirts of the town, in the open farmland. I still remember that house. It looked like an older farmhouse that looked to have been built in the early 1900s. The windows were all boarded up, and the house looked in a state of disrepair. As we walked up to the house, I remember my dad checking the address over and over again, and looking at the house in disbelief. And then the door opened. So, more connective tissues time, boys.
What do you mean? This is the first one. Oh, no, technically not.
Technically, the other ones, technically the other ones have all been connective tissues with like me just like living this character's like life as a kid.
Yes.
But yeah, I have seen this place, or at least a lot of places exactly like it. Growing up and traveling with my family to an aunt and uncle who live in Caledon, driving out there into the more remote parts of Ontario, just outside the burbs in and around Toronto, like it's called the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. And you'll see these old dilapidated century homes and farmhouses. Like they're all over the place. In the rural parts that haven't been like eaten up by corporate developers and such. We were on a more recent memory I have. We were driving to see the Caledon Kin, and we were driving somewhere along a stretch of road that popped off the highway near the Holland Landing, which is a landmark for like north of Toronto. And I swear there was an old closed down TV studio on the side of the road. And this was after I had read this creepypasta for the first time. And I think I even like in those early, I think it was even like in the early days of ADR when we had traveled and passed this place. And I couldn't help but wonder, like, what if Mr. Bear had used a closed down studio rather than a farmhouse? Like, like not like, cause like, obviously like there is a way for people to do like public access, like broadcasting and stuff like that from their home. But like, what if he had found an actual fucking like dilapidated closed down television studio in like the backwoods? And like there's a bunch of them like hell, even near us, like where I live now. I used to pass a station branch of I don't think it's Sirius. It was it was a TV broadcasting studio that used like that would I think it was like a mix of like a TV studio and a radio station, because it had like a radio station tied to it, but it was also a TV broadcasting studio, or like an area that they from the branch of like City TV or CTV. But yeah, so like there's a bunch. They're all out in like the rural areas most of the time, because like that's how they get like their that's how cable would like branch off like the broadcast, like how it would like network the broadcast and such, right? So yeah, no, this whole thing is just like, yeah, going down to Caledon, like to the rural, because Caledon is a pretty rural like area. It's not even like a full town. It's like it's a bunch of small towns, like just kind of connected by back roads. But and in the in between spaces, it's just like forests and small and marsh and farmland. So it's just like yeah, I've seen likely what the inspiration was for the house from the Caledon Local 21. But yeah, that's my connective tissues. It's just like I apparently lived this creepypasta growing up. And I'll move on to the next thing, which is also in the same entry. As you might have already guessed, he kidnapped kids and held them in his cellar. But while most people thought he was a serial child molester, he really wanted to use the kids for another purpose. The day I arrived, the man had fled his house the night before, the day before the police went in for their investigation. I wasn't the only one who was watching. So this, this is basically like at the point of the story when I was reading it, I was like, this could have been a shorter story with Elliot retelling his account, the events of the Caledon Local 21 event in 1999 and his part that he played in the narrative of it. And that could have been it. Like that, like up till now, like you could have honestly ended with basically like he had been like the last, like he'd been the one that got away because like the police finally intervened.
It's funny that you say this because my note on this says, imagine reading this in the moment and that is how the story ends for the time being, because the next one is an update. So that is how this first came out, and then it slowly got updated and updated over the years.
But honestly, like I honestly could have left it, like I could have taken it if that had been all the story was just like this part, like just this creepy thing that he encountered when he was a kid. That would have been fine for me because it would have been like a lot, like it would have. It felt like it would have worked as that shorter format creepypasta. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate the idea that it went longer, because it helped delve into an investigation a decade later after the original events of 1999 with the almost last victim of Mr. Bear seeking some type of closure. It's a compelling like reason to keep updating the blog and to keep telling the story and stuff. But yeah, honestly, I could have honestly like taken it as a short creepypasta where it just ends with him explaining like what had almost happened to him and such, because like that is a classic creepypasta kind of storytelling trope. But I also like that it kept going into this investigation.
My problem is like he says, while most people thought he was a serial child molester, he really wanted to use the kids for another purpose. So he knows the purpose, but he's not going to tell us.
Okay, yeah, maybe add a little bit more. Yeah, maybe add a little bit of that extra bit as well at the end. But like, yeah, like, and then that be like, I could have been one of those kids in the pit, like that. Like, add that little bit at the end, and then like you could also like have a nice conclusive, creepy short story.
Or he doesn't even have to straight up say. He could just say, like he uses them for other means. I can't talk about them right now because I'm still like recovering,
reeling.
From it,
yeah,
but I'll bring it up later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and yeah, I got to this point and finished it. I was like, I could be done right now. like a little like tweaking, obviously, but like for the ending to be like nice and succinct. But like, yeah, this was like,
I could stop right now and go.
This is just like this is effectively this is effectively part one. This part one is basically like a concise like creepy story. It does keep going for like a bunch of updates and stuff like that over the next like 2 years, 2 or 3 years. But yeah, and I'll get into some of my criticisms as it goes on, because I have some criticisms about about how he narrates the updates and investigations. But
I was gonna say, because like so far everything you're saying is recommended.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Yeah,
bad's gonna happen. Apparently.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Like everything at the very start of the game of the story was perfect for me. It wasn't until like as the investigations and the updates started happening that I started having problems with the story, and I'll go into why. So the next thing I have here is update December 2nd, 2009. The question is, who else watched Caledon Local 21? The answer: I know other people watched it for sure, including those kids who wound up at Mr. Bear's house. After some Google searches, I found a few people on the NeoSeeker forums who were discussing shows from Caledon Local 21. They talked about the 2 shows I watched, but also another 2 shows I had never seen before. And so like I kind of got me wondering, because like as I was reading this part like of the NeoSeeker discussions and stuff, I wonder if the author of 1999 had read or was inspired by Candle Cove, which was first posted back in March of 2009, and with 1999 being posted November 2009 till April of 2011 on the Slack Lane blog. Simply because of like the similar use of like forum chatter regarding like an old creepy TV show or channel that people watched as a kid.
Well, also back then, like, how many forums were out there?
Well, and that's and also like it is a very common, or it has become a bit of a trope of in investigations in creepypastas from that early 2010s, like 2009 era of creepypasta, where like like a lot of these creepypastas come off of forums or come off of like 4chan and stuff like that. So of course there are going to also be these people that are writing it are going to reference things that were going on those on those forums and on those chats and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like I'm not saying anything bad about it. I like this trope. It just had me wondering. It's like, I wonder if the author of 1999 had ever read Candle Cove. And then I had to like actually like start digging and like, when was Candle Cove first posted? When was 1999 posted? I was like, okay, cool. So there, like 1999 came after Candle Cove. So like there's a window of opportunity where like the author may have read Candle Cove. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they did, and I'm not saying like it's fine if they were inspired by it, but like if they weren't, still cool. That's fine.
Yeah, for sure. There's nothing wrong with inspiration.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. This is from the same entry, but then it kind of dives into the next update. So that's all I have for now. Thanks for keeping an interest in my blog. I will try to gather as much information as I can for my next post. I've actually been getting pretty interested in this myself. It should be my right to know what the hell happened. Then we get update January 14th, 2010. I'm sorry, I haven't posted anything for a while. I kind of lost interest in this blog since I hit a standstill while looking for more information about the identity of the owner of Camden Local 21. Okay, I know it does explain why he lost interest, but I did get a chuckle at the sudden like mood swing of like between like the updates. It's like yeah, I'm actually getting really excited to this. Then the next time it's like, sorry guys, I totally forgot about this blog because I lost interest in it.
Yeah, it was like, kind of a bummer, honestly.
I know, but like it does explain why he stopped getting interested, because he hit a roadblock.
Yeah, it's understandable, but like it was kind of funny or odd, you know.
Yeah, it was kind of silly. It was like it gave me a chuckle. Like when I read, it's like, okay, yeah. And then you keep reading, it like explains why. But
it was like walking the line on that situation that I find myself in with creepypastas, where if the character is bored, I'm bored too. Yeah. Where he's like, I kind of lost interest in this. Like, oh, don't say that.
Yeah,
I want to be interested.
Well, and that's a common thing in this story, is like he loses interest in the blog, or he forgets about the blog, and then he gets like, I gotta admit, I'm getting really interested again in this. Like,
yeah, he forgets like 5 or 6 times.
I'll just bring it up now. I have a drinking game for 1999. Yeah. Take a shot whenever Elliot loses interest in the blog and then gets really interested again in the mystery.
So how many entries are there? That's how many shots you're taking.
Yeah, basically. Also, this might be a little insensitive, but maybe have the shots be orange juice and vodka. Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know what if you haven't guessed that reference, it's in the story about what Mr. Bear gives the kids. So
yeah, gives them orange juice with a drop of something in it.
With a drop of some kind of sedative or something is my guess. Yeah. But like, yeah, like not that again, this is all fictional, but it still deals with some like it does still deal with some real world like creepy horrific shit.
Yeah, so like you brought up Candle Cove before and comparing it to this, and like yes, but personally I prefer this because this is potentially real.
Yeah, no,
there's no weird supernatural blanket to hide yourself behind. This is a potentially all real world shit.
You're gonna hate one of my theories then for the story coming up.
Oh no, I'm fine with supernatural blankets. I don't hate them. I'm just saying this is creepy in a skeevy, sketchy way.
In a grounded true crime.
That a story like Candle Cove can't, because it's supernatural.
Yeah, or it's just like it's a weird it's a mass hallucination or like people like false memory kind of thing. The channel is like that's what Candle Cove is. But like when I was referencing Candle Cove, I wasn't referencing it as like connecting them to being supernatural. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just when you brought that up that made me think that, so I wanted to mention it.
Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, and again, just like being silly and like I don't know if it's insensitive or not. It's a fictional story, but it is grounded in true crime kind of horror. Yeah. But yeah, I just threw that out there of like don't have to use the shot of orange juice and vodka. Just like take a shot whenever the Elliot loses interest in the blog, but then gets really interested in the mystery again. Like yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing. So this is from update February 10th, 2010. I guess I haven't said much about him yet. My dad's friend's name is Mitchell Wilson. Pretty nice guy. He seems to understand my thirst for knowledge on what happened during the late 90s in that house. Okay, I know this story came out before a lot of like doxing issues and stuff like happened and like, but there was still cyberbullying. Also, this is a work of fiction. These aren't real people, but there is an immersion level for this blog. And so I felt like some immersion kind of broke here because this blog sleuth investigation, maybe Elliot should have used aliases and said that he was using aliases for various names in the story.
He wouldn't necessarily know to do that because he's just a dumb kid.
And yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you could have it like because he's 15, like give him a pass on that. It still kind of just bugged me that like, oh, he's using like in the lore, in the setting, in character, he is using people's real names, and that like should not be the case because he's like referencing like an ex-cop and this other rando guy like Anthony Polo. Like we just now know that guy's name.
Yeah. Apparently he's 11 at this point.
No, and in this one it's 2010, so he would have been.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Math wrong. 16.
Yeah, he's 16 in this one. Yeah, I have some math stuff later on in the story that I have to criticize, but I will get to that in a minute. Or
I have math. He's 17.
Yeah, he's about 17.
Are you counting birthdays?
Yes, we are counting birthdays.
Yeah. Well,
he's
okay.
So he's 16 to 17.
Okay, so in 1999, it says he's 5 years old.
Yes.
But it doesn't say whether he's had his birthday yet or not. So he becomes 6 in 1999. Add another because his birthday is in April.
Yeah. Okay.
I went with generalized. I went with generalized things of like he's either like 5 or 6 in 1999, or and then like now that's like 2009. He's like,
well,
yeah.
The thing is, when it gets to the 2010, so May 2010, he says he just got his G2 license.
Yes,
which means that he has to have been 17 in May 2010.
You're right.
Yeah.
I have some notes later about like the time discrepancies that are going on, especially near the very end of the story. But like, do you want me to just like skip ahead and go to that, or do you want me to keep going?
You can keep going.
Okay. Where am I at? Anyways.
Well, actually, before you keep going, when I first read that line with him dropping that guy's name, I absolutely first read that name as Michael Winslow, the sound effects guy from Police Academy. So that's who this guy became. For the rest of this story.
You know what? That's perfectly fine. Yeah, I have a similar situation coming up. I will continue though.
Okay.
Like it's not this next quote and comments, but it's coming up. So he took me to Dave. So this is the same entry for so it's like February 10th, 2010. He took me to Davis Road Police Station. If you don't know, it's the largest station in Caledon and one of the largest within the Peel region itself. Okay, so my own sleuthing online had me look up like police stations on Davis Road in Caledon, which brought up the fact that according to Google Maps, the only Davis Road or Davis Drive in Caledon is a residential block in Alton. And the only police station in Caledon is an OPP station in Caledon East. Now,
2023.
Now maybe back 12 years ago, there was a station on Davis Drive, and that whole residential area didn't exist. I did actually street level, and like the houses all look fairly new, so it isn't out of the realm of possibility that police station did exist on Davis Drive, and they decided to move it to a new property, to a larger property, because like that happened in one of our nearby towns, where like the OPP station moved to a larger facilities. So I'm willing to chalk part of this up to that. I'm also willing to chalk this up to just being a fictionalized version of Caledon in the Peel region.
Yeah, which is another safe way of doing it too.
Yeah. And then another thing I have here, I will sign off for now, get into university first, and get information later. Hopefully, I will get back to this blog as soon as possible. So at this point, like
2010.
Yeah, this is still in November.
2010.
Yeah,
He's going into
And he's 17.
when
Yeah.
he's
Again, I'll get to that. Guys, I have a whole thing about it. I have a whole thing about that. Okay.
the kid's gifted, man.
That was part of the thing. Yeah. Anyways, so this part, yeah, he's going to going into university. It's like, I kind of wish Elliot had brought up that in the story here that he was going into university for forensics rather than computer engineering, which is what we find out later what he's going for university to. Like perhaps as a result of this whole experience, it got him interested into that that area of expertise of like going into like crime and stuff like that, and would also kind of add a little bit more credence to his whole like cyber sleuthing and like his blogs like thing, like looking into this mystery and such. Yeah, it was just sort of a thought of mine, like as it was like talking about him going to university. But I'll go into the next thing I have here. This is update May 8th, 2010. I wondered where the cellar entrance was located and whether it had been sealed up. I walked around to the back of the house and found my answer. 2 wooden doors lying at an almost flat angle were padlocked shut. This had to lead to the cellar. Not wanting to hang around, you cannot imagine what was going through my mind at that time. I departed. Behind the house, the empty field continued on until it reached a dense forest that lined the horizon. I wondered if that was the forest where the bodies of the children were found. I thought to myself, fuck it, and proceeded to walk across the field behind the house into the forest.
As if you needed more clarification that he's you.
So,
Exactly.
Yes. First off, yes. Except I would be a little bummed that I couldn't get into the cellar. But here's my issue with this, actually. So you got a bad feeling about the cellar door, like locked, I might add, and decided to get away from it. That part is understandable, like speculating, like having in your head, like dreading, like what if scenario, like what if someone's still around, for example, like what if Mr. Bear's still here, or some killers in there and stuff like that. But then you look out to the woods behind the property after seeing the cellar doors and stuff like that, where very likely those are the same forests where dead kids were found, and where someone could freely lurk and watch from a distance or watch in the shadows and such. And you just go, fuck it, and just start walking into those woods. Like, yes, that is something I would do. But the character but the character contradicts himself because he's like freaked out by the cellar door over the implications of some kind of implications or getting creeped out by it. But then he turns around and looks at the woods, the creepy dense forest off the other side of the property, and says, or even like things like, that's probably where the forest where those kids were burned. Fuck it, I'm just gonna go in there. It's like, that is not a reaction, a reasonable reaction after what you just had.
I mean, it is. The reason he didn't go in the basement was because it was locked.
I guess.
Do you think he would have went down? He probably would have went in.
He
there
might not. Maybe he would have. Maybe he wouldn't have. I don't know. It seemed like a contradictory like reaction that he just.
The way I saw it was the basement was locked. The forest ain't locked. So I'm going in the forest.
All right, fair enough.
That's the way I saw it, anyways.
Yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. Yeah, everyone knows about that guy, he said to me as if I were stupid. Kid in the Slipknot shirt continued. He still lives around here in the storm drain. My big brother's friend says he saw him in a bear costume once. wandering around the forest at night. You know, I recently heard, I don't know if this is connective tissues or not, but like I recently heard a fan theory that connects Winnie the Pooh to Pennywise the clown from Stephen King's It, like as them being the same entity. Like there's a bunch of, believe it or not, there's actually a bunch of commonalities between Winnie the Pooh and Pennywise. Specifically from like the newer movie, or like the newer like 2 movies that came out. So rereading this part in particular, like about Mr. Bear allegedly living in a storm drain and skulking at night in the woods, got me thinking on that theory. And given, you know, like the whole like the bear costume and like the storm drain layer, which is like they're kind of like I can draw some similarities between that and like Winnie the Pooh and Stephen King's It. So now my headcanon for Mr. Bear's voice is Pooh Bear's or Pennywise's voice, which is also one of the similarities that the 2 characters have in the theory. Yeah. Because like Winnie the Pooh's voice and Pennywise's like softer, like luring voice is very much like the same. It's like, hello.
Is that all they're going on?
Well, basically, no. There's a lot more. Like because like in one of the stories, like there's suddenly just a random red balloon in one of the Winnie the Pooh like cartoons that like he finds in the 100-acre wood. Yeah, and then like in the 100-acre wood, and then like he lulls children into the woods, and like there's a few like little like things that people have like drawn connections and decided to make this theory about it. So again, it's definitely not true, but it's just like an interesting like thought idea or a thought experiment. But yeah, now for now on though, like this basically like whenever I like was reading Mr. Bear's voice or like dialogue, I was kind of thinking of like Pooh Bear's or Pennywise's voice, which just added on to like the creepiness of it, because it's like that weird like kind of like soft little voice, hello. Like that kind of thing.
Super muffled, so it's also
it's also like it's super muffled and Kenny. Yeah.
So, there you go.
But yeah, I'll move on to the next thing I have here. Here's what the kids told me in detail. The storm drain lies ahead of the kids' fort, the same direction I was heading. The drain ends at a small river where excess water is drained out. Near here is a small playground. The kids told me people rarely use it. The man supposedly lives in the large pipe that rainwater drains out of. People have seen him, although always either wearing a bear mask or the mask and full body bear costume. Note, I do not believe this is true, and in fact, simply a myth made by the residents of Caledon. The story does not seem plausible in any way. Why did no one call the police? Didn't this guy look suspicious? And other questions like these leave the story invalid. So, unless Mr. Bear is Pennywise or a similar entity, subtly manipulating the locals into not contacting the police, or even manipulating the police into not investigating despite the potential layer, like location of the layer and such. The reason the urban legend exists and persists in Caledon is to give the locals a small sense of dread of the local woods, which whenever Mr. Bear is hungry for children, it has the extra spice of dread, similar to how Pennywise scares his victims before he eats them because the meal is that much sweeter. Or, this is just all a lie in a local urban legend with no true grounding in reality. But again, like just kind of like I'd already like kind of like made some connections with like the storm drain and like the bear costume and stuff like that, so like the Pennywise thing. So I decided to just dive into a more of my connection with that. Mr. Bear may be a supernatural cognivore like Pennywise.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption.
But yeah, I'll move on to the next thing I have here. Update October 7th, 2010. As of now, I am living in Waterloo, Ontario, attending the University of Waterloo for computer engineering. In brackets. Yeah, I'm a keener. What the fuck is a keener?
Yeah, I was going to look that up and forgot to.
according to Google, it's a Canadian term for someone who is extremely eager to please. I don't know what that has to do with being a computer engineer. Maybe because
his dad wants him to do it.
Well, I was thinking like maybe it's because he's so focused on his studies, hence why he forgot the blog for like 5 months. Also, like if he is as young as he is, and he's like an overachiever, maybe he's a keener in that he's like an overachiever kind of thing. Also, I'm just surprised I never heard this term because it's an Ontario term. Like it's an Ontario turn of phrase.
Keeners, so
yeah, we're apparently just never around keeners. We're all ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing here. And this is what I mentioned earlier when you said like that for you the one character is now or like the ex-cop is now
Michael Winslow.
Michael Winslow. This is what happened for me with this line specifically from here. As you can imagine, engineering is no walk in the park. So obviously, I nearly forgot about this blog. But as you can see now, I am back. Yeah, I'm guessing I'm back.
Next entry. Yeah, I'm guessing I'm back. Next entry. Yeah, I guess I'm back.
So it's like, I love, this is like, so now, yeah, Elliot is now just John Wick.
Yeah. Like, and it seems silly now because we're reading it all at once.
Yeah.
But when you're reading it in the moment, when it stops and then you see the new update and him saying, yeah, guess I'm back. Like, that's cool.
Yeah. And also, fine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not, this is actually nothing like bad about it. It's just like, I just also love like out of the story, I just love how like the new pop culture reference to saying I'm back is now a John Wick reference. Yeah. Whereas like for the longest time, because of the 80s movie, The Terminator, it was I'll be back.
Yeah.
And now it's a John Wick. Now it's a John Wick line. And yeah, now I can't not see Elliot as being a younger John Wick, Keanu Reeves.
15-year-old John Wick.
A 15-year-old Wick. Yeah, a 15-year-old Keanu Reeves wearing a John Wick like outfit.
Jonathan Wick.
Yeah, Jonathan Wick. Elliot Wick. But I'll move on to the next thing here. Now my roommate knows about all of this. He thought this letter, so this is in regard, like he gets that like weird letter from Mr. Bear, Mr. Bear, about like the TV broadcasting and like the public access accessibility and such. And then we get this quote here. It's like, now my roommate knows about all this. He thought this letter was real and actually seemed more scared than I was for a second. But then I shrugged it off. So he did too. I mean, what are the chances of this being real? How would Mr. Bear know all about this public access TV and about when I went to Caledon on those occasions, more or less know my email or me still being interested in his cellar? Ha! Honestly, so when I read the email, it does seem like someone just trying to offer an explanation about the public access TV works, like how that whole thing works, and how someone could use it the way Mr. Bear did, and then tried to maybe creep Elliot out with the email address and the sign-off. Like, at least maybe the email address was made up so that it would maybe get Elliot's attention and get him to read the email more pronouncedly.
Before we continue,
yeah.
What the hell is the reference to the email address? Just return the bee.
Return the bear?
Yeah, but why is that like, aha, I see what you did there?
I don't, honestly, I don't know why that's that.
Yeah, did anyone get that?
I just kind of like, honestly, I just shrugged it off as like, oh, it's return the bear, like Mr. Bear, I guess is what they're going for.
How is that like?
Yeah.
It could be anything. Like, how is that? Oh, it's 100% Mr. Bear's email.
Yeah, I
Mikey,
really
did
don't.
you understand?
Maybe like return to
You're
be
the smarter
maybe?
Of the three of us.
Yes, clearly.
Mikey?
I don't know.
Cool. So we all didn't understand it or didn't care enough to figure it out.
Yeah, we sort of just shrugged it. I think we all just shrugged it off because it's like, yeah, I mean, it says B, so clearly it's probably means Mr. Bear. Yeah, no, that is kind of weird now that I think about it. Like, because why wasn't it like return to B?
Mr. Bear's show or something like that, you know? It'd be something that sounds like it's more like his official email.
Or like, why not be like
Mr.
return
Bear or something?
or like something even more like it'd be kind of like weird, but maybe even add more to the plot. It's like return Mr. B. Like it's like why do we need to? Well, no, because like it's a weird thing, but like it could be explained later in another entry. Like like there's something about going on or something. I don't know. It is kind of odd now that you've brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like I don't think. Honestly, like reading this email, I don't think this is Mr. B. This is Mr. Bear either. Like Elliot is like his response. Like I also don't entirely understand Elliot's response to it. Like him and like how he's explaining his response to it. Like, yeah, I guess getting this from someone would remind you / inspire you to return to the blog. Oh, maybe it's
the bear.
No, return to the blog. Return the blog. That still makes no sense.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just? Does he have a freaking character limit like I do on my Twitter account? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. But yeah, so like it might this email might inspire him to return back to the blog or the mystery and stuff like that. But like nothing in here says anything about his trip to Caledon and such. Like Mr. Bear could have a former knowledge about broadcasting and like stuff. Like we don't know. Yeah. We know next to nothing about his past careers. He might
that's
be.
What I had written down. Like he could have worked at public access TV before he went nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
And
also,
like, he could have known that he went to Caledon because he still lives near the house and he was watching.
Yeah,
how did he get his email? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, no, actually, I have an
something in his car.
I have an explanation for the email. That's really easy and simple. You weren't letting me talk.
No, because I was trying to get my.
Yeah, I know. I now know how it feels, gamer.
Yeah.
Regarding getting the email, actually, he probably got it off of the blog or something. Like just like as simple as that. Like got it off the blog because like a lot of
from anonymous.
Yeah, but like the blog itself does have like emails. Like you can actually access emails and stuff like that. I don't know. There's a number of simple like Occam's razor ways that that the person could have gotten his email. So I just found the email less weird and off kilter than I think Elliot's response was to it. Like despite he himself agreeing it was likely not Mr. Bear. It was just this was like basically just the first of what will probably be like hundreds of prank emails people are sending him. And then we get the next update in November 7th, 2010. Wow, I can't believe this blog hasn't been deleted yet. I haven't checked it for so long. Literally, the last update was in October of the same year. A month has passed. This blog has been left for far longer. Why would you be surprised that it wasn't deleted? This just seemed really weird to me.
I forgot to check the dates. Is it really just a month later?
Yeah, a month went by. Like it's October 7th. It literally a month has gone by. Like October 7th.
A year and a month?
No, it's 2010. And then update November 7th, 2010. So literally like and literally he's left this thing going on for like 5 months at once before. So like it just seemed really weird that he was like, wow, I can't believe this has been deleted. I haven't checked it in so long. It's like it's literally been a month, dude. You've left it for far longer.
That's weird.
Yeah. Oh, this is like the start of like where things start getting a little in discrepancy with like time for this.
A lot of time issues.
Yeah. So the next thing I have is I've had to make a new email. I've had to make a new email account because people keep prank mailing me pretending to be Mr. Bear. Thanks a lot, guys. Not okay. This is sort of a follow-up from what I was saying earlier about the fake email with from Mr. Bear. I do in quotes. This part actually feels like a real reaction to dealing with a floodgate of email pranks. Like this whole story sort of teeters on a fine line, dealing with like kind of like talking about smaller, like a smaller but just as creepy real world and parasocial issue like doxing or cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Even if it is unintentional in the writing, it sort of kind of gives you that extra level of like real creepiness because it's dealing with like cybercrime or like with assholes on the internet that are treating you like shit by pranking you. So, the whole like anonymity thing is like a really big thing there. But yeah, I'll move on to the next thing I have. Another update. January 21, 2011. things were pretty slow at the station because of a snowstorm. So he said I could come down anytime that day. The tapes were located at a branch not far from me, so I braved the slushy roads and terrible Brampton drivers and made my way to the Peel Regional Police Station located at the Bramley City Center. So, comment number 1. I would suspect that it would be pretty busy at the police station during a snowstorm with an increase in like road accidents and such. Like it wouldn't be a slow day because of a snowstorm. Like then again, like maybe it's a slow day at the station because there's not many cops there because they're all out dealing with road accidents. Maybe that's the pass on that. But number 2, I did actually give I gave it the old Google Maps check, and yes, there is a police station right next to and even on the same property as the Bramley City Center.
There you go.
So yeah, we have this story is like in and out, like it sort of like goes in and out of like being grounded in reality. Like there's like parts of it that are either fictionalized or like again maybe the places just don't exist anymore because it's been like over a decade since this blog first was released. But and things can change. Hell, things change really fast, especially in like developing areas. Like Brampton has changed so much since I moved out of it. It has become just a sprawl of suburbs and such.
Yeah, no doubt. Hell, my dad used to live in freaking Toronto.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Back then.
Well, like I remember, like it took like 2, maybe like 5-10 minutes to drive out of our neighborhood, and you hit open farmland and like greenery, and then like you go. Now it's like more like 20 to 30 minutes. You get out of the sprawl of like industrial parks and like suburbs, and then you're getting into like the more pastoral rural areas outside of Brampton. But I digress. I'll move on to the next thing here. This next one I have is the INRI poem from Mr. Bear to Elliot. So it's between update January 21, 2011 and update April 5th, 2011. Regarding the poem, did Mr. Bear somehow access Elliot's blog and post this, or some other person just like randomly post like just hack his blog? Elliot does eventually address the entry. But it's like in the last part of the last entry we get of this story. And I feel like there should have been like a more immediate like reaction posted or something about this poem.
Yeah, or just something around it saying like this wasn't quoted by me. Like I didn't write this, but I'm leaving it in. Like say that first. Yeah,
because like literally, it's like so like it happens like the INRI like once upon a time there lived a boy named Elliot, and it keeps going on about like help us, Elliot, burn us.
I think I know why though. Hang on. Yeah, because he posted the last one.
Yeah, April 5th, 2011. Yeah,
where it goes more to come soon, Elliot, and then it got hacked, and the hacker put that at the end of his last entry.
Oh, okay. So
then he does a new update saying, "Oh, okay, here we are." But I feel like he should lead with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, because I'm looking at like the next entry that he posts, and like it is in that entry because that's the last entry, but it's like not like till like the last part of it, basically. It's like 4 or 5 paragraphs in. It's like the video suddenly cut to dawn, the camera position, blah blah blah. Yeah, so it talks about like this like. About one of the oh no, that's still about but one of the episodes, and it does mention INRI in it, because INRI was painted or was printed on a sign next to the Mr. Bear costume. And then I'm trying to find where it is in this book because I know
it's not right there, so it should be the very first thing he addresses because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so anyway, that's that thing about the INRI poem. The last couple of things I have here are there's a couple because it's all in the same update. It's that April 5th, 2011 update. I wanted to update more. I truly did. However, certain circumstances had turned me off the whole Caledon Local 21 thing. I've since then had hundreds of emails about my blog, and was even in contact with a magazine about my story. But now is the time to come clean to everything. Where have I been for an entire year? What do you mean? Like an entire year? The last update was January 2011. Like this year. Like even before that, there were like a couple more entries during like updates during 2010 in which Elliot explains where he's been and what he's been doing. Like this is a very odd remark. Like where have I time to come clean for where I've been for like are you just going to reveal that all of those updates have been false? But no, we never really get like a kind of like admission of like falsification. And then we get this. Wilson was obvious. So this is like when he's getting ready to like finally watch the last tape or tapes. Wilson was obviously reluctant to show me, but I was persistent. He gave me an offer. If I was still interested by the time I turned 20, he would show me the tape. Not being able to do much else, I just played the waiting game. By the time my 20th birthday rolled around, I was definitely still interested in viewing the tape. Okay, so that sentence right there at the end, like by the time my 20th birthday rolled around, I was definitely interested in viewing the tape. And it goes on, he does watch the tape. So it insinuates that he's 20 here. That's not how the math works. Because entry number 1 in the blog, we find out, like Mikey had mentioned earlier, Elliot says he is 5 years old in 1999. It is now 2011 in the updates. So 12 years have passed. That doesn't make him 20 years old. That makes him 17. So
or 18.
Or 18, yeah, give or take, because of the. So his 20th birthday wouldn't have rolled around yet. Furthermore, while there's no technical age limit to entering university in Canada, as I Googled and researched this, Elliot would have started university for his computer engineering at about the age of 15, 16. Not unheard of. And maybe this is why he called himself a keener earlier. He's just like really like smart and gifted in terms of like getting things done at a young age. But the average age of high school graduates is 17 to 18. And then again, like we brought up the G2, you would have had to have been like 16, 17.
You would have had to have been 17.
Actually, I remember looking at it was 16 for G2.
G1 is 16. You have to wait an entire year before you can get your G2.
It says at least 16 years of age for getting your G2 license.
Well, you have to be at least 16. Okay, but you have to start the process at 16 to get your G1.
Which means you would actually get it at 17.
Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't take you a full year to get your G2.
It says 8.
You have to wait a full year of having your G1 to get your G2.
Yes, G2. But he can get his G1 the same day he goes in.
Yeah. I'm literally looking at like an Ontario driver license things right now to like confirm this stuff.
Things we have to Google.
I know. Wow. It could be worse. CSIS could be looking at our stuff like in horror right now.
Based in the timeline.
Yes. Yeah.
At that time, you got your G1 at 16, you did a written test, and then you had to wait a full year before you could even take the G2 test.
Okay. But still, yeah. So again, my stance stands. There's still indiscrepancies here. There's a bunch of like just time plot holes at the tail end of this creepypasta that really irked me.
Yeah. You know what's actually quite hilarious about all these time discrepancies?
Yeah, what?
They're fixed in the plagiarized version.
Oh, that sucks.
Are they?
That sucks. Oh,
it goes to 2014 in the
right. You're
plagiarized
right.
version.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. All right. Well, anyways,
wasn't aware of it, and now he is aware of it. So maybe we're helping.
Maybe he'll get around to fixing this, or who knows? If he ever checks this out,
But a second lost episode.
yeah. As we get another DMCA.
Maybe don't mention that. I don't want to put him on blast.
No. Well, to be fair, a lot of the other videos and podcast stuff that have tackled 1999 have had their episodes taken down because they were dealing with stuff that was the stories after the 2011 this last update. So all the ones that most of the ones that were dealing with the story from before any of those modifications or those postings on the creepos.wiki and sites and stuff like that, those have stayed up. So we're covering the original material. So
yes,
yeah. So we're fine. Hopefully. Second lost episode coming. Second lost episode incoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, move on to the next thing I have here. He was right, though. I had nightmares for weeks. I gave up. I didn't care about the whole thing anymore. A sick man burned a bunch of kids alive, attracting them with a fake kids TV channel. With a fake kids TV channel. I could have been one of the victims. Yet I'm still here. I suppose I should be grateful, but I feel guilty. Am I still here by pure luck? And to me, like reading this, it added this little extra added bit of like tragic, of like kind of like sadness or tragic melancholy to Elliot's character, because like it sounds like Elliot is just suffering from survivor's guilt.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's from a fictional point of view, that's great because he should be, because like that's sort of it's logical for him to be like feeling that kind of stuff psychologically, like, and for this, that's how it's affected him over these years. So and it explains why he's become consumed by the constant what if scenario in his mind and wanting him to investigate this whole matter. Seek out some kind of closure or redeeming himself in his own eyes. Like it gives him a motivation to be doing this blog in the first place. So I was down for that, like that, like from a narrative point of view. Sad that it's happening to the character, but it's, yeah.
Of course.
And then the last thing we have is I'm over episode 31 now. The image of what I saw will stick with me for a while, but I want to do one last hurrah. I will get into contact with Mitchell Wilson again, and hopefully get set up with the tapes in the possession of the other Peel police branches. I'll try to update you guys as soon as I can. I'm sure this won't take so long again. Thank you to everyone who still reads this. Elliot. And with that, it seems, for good or ill, Elliot never returned to the blog. Maybe he finally decided to give up and move on with his life. Maybe he found something he couldn't deal with, or maybe he got killed by Mr. Bear. Who knows?
Maybe he just forgot about it, and 5 years later, he's like, "Oh, I totally forgot about this blog again."
Yeah. I can't believe it's deleted or hasn't been deleted yet.
Yeah.
It's so long. It's like, there we go. That's a little more accurate. Yeah. This is just kind of like boils down. Like, I sort of wish this last entry didn't include the desire to return to the tapes at the police station. Like,
it makes it sound like there's going to be more.
Yeah, like, because it felt like he was finished. Like the second last paragraph, he was like, "I'm done with it" and stuff like that. But then he was like, "Let's go on one last hurrah," and want to find more of those tapes from the other Peel regions. I was like, this isn't Ted the Caver, where he says he's going to return with more information after he goes back into the cave, and presumably and then never talks about him because he was presumably killed or disappeared by whatever was in that cave. It really, for me, it seems like out of place, or like the author was hoping to do more and then just never did. But like, why project that in the last entry, given Elliot's state of mind in the final entry?
Yeah, it kind of does cheapen that the last video watching thing he did, because he watched the one that traumatized him. He's like, "I don't want to see this ever again," and then
exactly,
it's like, "I want to see more." Like,
yeah, so like,
dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's like wishy-washy. And I feel like if it had like said, like, "I don't want to do this anymore. This is the last one, Elliot signing out," you then have the opportunity to come back with another update if you want, and saying something has pushed you to come back. like you had earlier, like with when we were brought up earlier, like when the story could have ended when he was like retelling the story, and then suddenly he was getting these updates that we were never sure we were going to get another update, right? So I feel like this one, I feel like the ending should have concluded here with a more meaningful finality to like him, to like his journey here. Like maybe maybe watching episode 31 was the final straw of him just giving this up, because it was just so horrifying and horrific. And he did kind of get his answers as to like what Mr. Bear had done to those kids. He got to see what happened to them. So like, yeah, Mr. Bear's still out there, but maybe he's not. Maybe it's Maybelline, or maybe Elliot will just move on with his life and become a computer engineer, and maybe even leave Ontario entirely to get away from all this. That's what it seemed like he was doing. Like he moved to Ottawa. He moved universities to Ottawa because he wanted to get away from that area. So yeah, it just felt like this ending was sort of just like lackluster cliffhanger for no reason, and it didn't really need to be. So I would have. Yeah,
I don't know what could have happened. He could have went back to the house. He could have opened the lock, like broke the lock off, went down and got killed. Then how could he have responded again?
Yeah, no, and I get that, but where it worked for Ted the Caver, for me, for this one, it didn't work, because it was like I just didn't like it. Like I felt like it should have had some kind of like sense of like he's giving up on it, and then like and then like we had the opportunity like afterward to like do it. But yeah,
there could be a way to do finality in it. His blog's been hacked before.
Oh shit! Yeah, basically, maybe have like
he
one
says
last.
That,
yeah,
and then the next one is just a creepy Mr. Bear message. Like it could just be saying to anyone who wants to come to see Mr. Bear, here's the address.
Oh man, to quote Walter White, "You're goddamn right." That is, that is how you should this should have like come to a close. Is have like one more Inri poem, but like and have Mr. Bear basically, and so that was Mr. Bear that hacked his computer, and posted that like this, like it's like Elliot's with his friends now, with me and the fallen angel, blah 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 blah. It's like, and we now know the fate of poor Elliot.
The next season of Mr. Bear's Cellar is starting soon.
Oh God, yeah, so, like it's happening again.
At, Return the Bee.
It's happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was that's basically like the last bit of my actual thoughts for the story. It's just like the ending was just kind of lackluster for me, and like yeah. So Mikey, the E stands for evil. Do you have any more?
Yes, I have a little bit.
Excellent.
So the quote here, back in November 2009, the channel was only available to older TVs because the signal was one only picked up by rabbit ears, weaker frequency. For me, most of this isn't needed. It's just fluff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need to say weaker frequency. Just say that it was a local channel you could only get via rabbit ears. Because, if I recall, some of the rabbit ears I had a coaxial end to them. So a lot of TVs have a coaxial input.
Yeah.
So it's one of those technology things like, oh, well, only the older TVs picked it up because of rabbit ears. Well, no, it's any TV with a coaxial input that can have rabbit ears.
Yeah. Because it was well, because I think it was going with like because it was going on the boob TVs that had like the built-in bunny ears but like, yeah, you can absolutely get like an attachment bunny ears. Yeah, to certain older analog TVs.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then to add more to the university issue, without mentioning age. So in October 2010, as of now, I am living in Waterloo, Ontario, attending the University of Waterloo for computer engineering. then in November 2010, he says he's attending university in Ottawa.
Yeah, there was a sudden switch. He had a sudden transfer from Waterloo to Ottawa for some reason. Like within like a month or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did recall that, and I was like, I'll let it pass, but I don't think that's. I mean, it can happen. Like you can if you don't you can have a transfer to another university, because they're all the universities up here are connected via they have a network of universities and colleges and stuff.
And if that is the case, at the end of the day, do we need to know why he transferred universities? No, because we're not here about his normal life. We hear about Caledon Local 21.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that it doesn't happen during a regular transfer time. So for college and universities, it's September, January, and I think April or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you would transfer. So the fact that it's between October and November, like literally a month, and he's switched, and that just doesn't really work in the university setting because he'd be losing a bunch of credits and stuff.
Yeah, I see where both of you guys are coming from. Like, yeah, gamer, it's you're right. Like, it isn't necessarily it isn't necessary because we're here for the Caledon stuff. But on Mikey's point of view, you also kind of want to try and make it make sense for why he's done that. Like, you want to have that extra add a bit of groundingness for the immersion.
Yeah, but he could just say he's been busy with school. Like, having this extra stuff that allows people to see the flaws in the logic just makes it harder, you know?
Yeah.
Because and at the end of the day, him moving from Ottawa to Waterloo, Waterloo to Ottawa or whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't do anything for the story itself.
And well, the only thing is that in Waterloo, he's closer to Caledon.
Yeah, Caledon,
which means he can investigate.
Oh, I guess.
And in Ottawa, he's far away, so that was his excuse to why he hasn't been updating because he's too far away.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So when, as gamers point out, he could just say, "I was busy with school," and
yeah, true.
You don't need distance.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about the transfer during non-transfer times and all that.
Yeah,
because he might have just said, "Fuck the credits, I'm transferring. I want to get away."
Well, and that's what I was also kind of thinking. That's why I gave it a pass, was because maybe he just, this was sort of a thing where he's getting too he doesn't feel safe in Ontario, or in so close to Caledon, so he's moving 8 hours away or 6 hours away in the far end of Ontario, like what have you. So yeah, I was able to give it a pass, but I can also see where both of you guys are coming from with this. It's there's it's superfluous, but also you kind of want to have some stuff make sense so that it's you're not having indiscrepancies, but he's also kind of giving an explanation why he just bounced from Waterloo and went on to Ottawa. Or you can insinuate a plausible excuse why.
Yeah. All right. So my next note is my last time discrepancy. I just got to get it out there.
That's fair.
The INRI post was posted between January and April.
Yeah.
Yet we end up with this quote: "I have contacted my webmaster about the entry and was told that it was posted on Halloween. Ooh, spooky."
Wait. What?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Wait.
Hang on.
Yeah, because there's the in. So the last one before the in thing was update January 21, 2011. Then we get the INRI poem, and then update April 5th, 2011. That and then the Halloween thing.
If the last update was November, or sorry, early October, or
yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a time discrepancy. When he was saying like, I can't believe it's been like a whole, like, here's what I've been doing because it's been like a whole year. And I think he thought that the last update was 2010 and that this one was 2011. I think that is the problem here, is whoever, either the author or like the character didn't realize that the last update was like actually like the same year as like the next update. So it kind of, like that's again, it's part of the time plot holes I had that really kind of made the ending kind of suffer for me. So like there's a bunch of like little like indiscrepancies with like when things were positioned time, like in terms of the timeline. But this is like, just thank you, Mikey. You're just hammering the home that like there's so many little like time discrepancies at the end of this, by the end of the story, that I was like, this really kind of sucks. Like this, like it was like really like ruining my vibe while reading it.
And that's the thing, like the times don't make sense.
So
it's
not even like it's not even simple.
You're
it's
not
like,
getting an accurate timeline of the events.
Because it's like it's not even like one or two, and like they're not simple time discrepancies. It's like they're pretty blatant time discrepancies, and there's more than a couple. So
all right. And then it's time to be critically silly.
Oh boy.
So, not wanting to hang around, you cannot imagine what was going through my mind at that time. I departed. He's dead.
he just like,
oh, he died as in departed.
I departed. He like, I just imagine like him like looking in horror at like the closed cellar door, and it's like, I departed, and he just ragdolls to the ground, like the strings have all been cut. It's like, ugh.
Screen cuts to a ghost at a typewriter.
You're
like, being a ghost is weird.
My life as a ghostwriter. Oh wait, this is the secret origin for the ghostwriter from that TV show in the 90s. Because the ghost would type on a computer, and so like he was and Elliot was going into computer engineering.
Wow.
So he's a ghost in the machine.
Wow.
Also, anybody that doesn't know what ghostwriter is, check it out. It's really, I don't know if it's actually in Korea.
It's like it's so good.
I also
second guess.
It's been too long, and I was like, I remember as a kid, I didn't really care for it as much. Like I watched it, but like
maybe it's more of an adult kind of show.
I think it was like it was geared toward like older teens, and I was like I was pretty young when I watched it, so But it was like I love that like half-hearted like, it's like, go check it out. It's really maybe. Shit. That was good. But this could be the secret origin of the ghostwriter.
It could be.
Sorry, writer. I do also just love the image of Elliot just like looking on in horror at the cellar, just like ugh, and just like falling to the ground as he departed. I just keep imagining him just like falling backward, like, but his knees are still up. He's like, ugh.
Yeah. That's good.
All right. Anyway,
and hell of a tangent with that one.
Yeah, that we had critical mass of silliness with that one.
Yes. All right. So, my next actual thought is just a generalization that when I was reading this, it felt like he was always holding back some information for the next post. But then we get different information in the next post, and then he's holding back more, and then we get more different information.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really like. I can kind of like thinking back on it. I can kind of see what you guys mean, but like when I was reading, like I remember reading it, and it's like I don't think I got that vibe, but like I can like thinking back on it, maybe there was, but
there was a couple where it's like he is insinuating he knows some critical information, and he's going to tell us, but then he doesn't.
Also, yeah, actually, here's the thing that I don't think ever gets answered. He heard like when he finally heard the voice of the guy in the woods, like in one of those episodes that he didn't watch as a kid. He recognized the voice of the person. I guess it's supposed to insinuate that like he recognized it as being Mr. Bear's voice.
Yeah,
but like that's the one that is like I remember like reading it and it's like, is this going to come up again? Like, is he going to like find some revelation that's like somebody in his life?
it's his dad.
Yeah. Oh, that would be such a like. That's why the dad didn't care because he knew.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been
bringing
really
him to the house. Like, oh shit, the cops are here. Okay, let's just go.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit.
This is fine.
Yeah. We never see his. We never really see his dad again. Like it is mentioned like offhandedly, but it's mostly about like his dad's friend. I'm guessing it's a single parent household because like we never hear about the mom.
No.
But like in the childhood stuff. But yeah, it is interesting like that. Like yeah, I guess there are some things where like I guess it did feel like he was kind of keeping some things back for the entries. That is sort of thing like when you are writing a fake blog series and like you do have you have like things prepared ahead of time.
Yes.
It is sort of a knife's edge of like trying to figure out like how to write things where like your character doesn't know the answers but you do, and like how to make that like writing.
Yeah.
Like how not to
reason why the character can't talk about it right now, which is the main thing that I think could have been used really well here. Is like he witnessed some shit. I'm still recovering from it. I'm not talking about it right now.
Yeah, like and it worked well like with the foreshadowing of the police and like early on in the story, like when he's like foreshadowing that the police have interviewed him a couple of times about things. It's like that's fine, that works because we're going to get that information. But then in like the updates, like I can see like the frustration of like, well, like tell us the information, don't just keep drip feeding us. But yeah.
So that's the end of my actual thoughts.
All right. Gamer, you're up.
I suppose it's about my time, eh? Anybody?
I say it's about time, right? Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so early on it says, the year is 1999. That sentence brings me back to my senior kindergarten class when I was 5 years old. Ah, senior kindergarten, all them elderly babies. When you think about it, it's the twilight years of being a baby before they turn into a kid, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's senior, right?
It's the Angelica years rather than the Tommy Pickles years.
And then regarding like all the timestamps and shit,
yeah,
I appreciate, but like didn't really understand them. AKA like the first set of timestamps, all the 1999 related ones.
Yeah,
I didn't. I don't get them because like Nair's listing these shows as he recalls them from his childhood. I called him Nair because I forgot his name was Elliot. Elliot is listing. So like half of my notes will say Nair and half of them will say Elliot.
No.
Regardless, Elliot is listing these shows as he recalls them from his childhood.
Yeah,
each tied to a month for some reason.
Wait, because that's when he. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, because we don't get an initial timestamp, like the first entry's timestamp, but then he's using timestamps for like the months when, like he's the timestamps for like April 1999, and then like May 1999. Those is explaining like those are the months. Like what happens in those timestamps is like how he interacted with channel or with channel local or Callan Local 21.
Okay, but at the start, he said that the station only ran a few shows since it only ran for 5 hours a day. So shouldn't all of these shows be the ones that he's watching in a day, like during the 5 hour period? What does the timestamp have to do with it? It's not showing the same show for 5 hours for an entire month.
I think actually that might have been what it was doing. Like was like the
it's just one show on repeat for 5 hours every single day for an entire month.
It might have been.
It should have said that then, because I was under the impression that it didn't have many shows. That's what it said. It doesn't have many shows because it wasn't on for very long. And the length of it tied to the amount of shows would only be relevant if it's trying to play multiple shows in that time slot. So the way I saw it is all these shows are playing all the time, but he's only talking about one per month for reasons.
Yeah, it's also I kind of got the impression that some of the shows were like they went on for way longer than like a normal show would. Like the guy just had the camcorder going for like a long time, but they wouldn't be streaming it. It would be like videotaped. So
yeah,
yeah,
they're
it's
edited together.
Yeah, so it is a little odd like that. Because I got the impression that like these select episodes that we're getting between the months are just like whenever Elliot keeps like going back to channel 21. Like I imagine like maybe he's watching it for a little bit and then the one show goes and then it starts like rerunning. It's like, okay, I'm gonna turn it off because like I've already seen this episode. But it should have said that, like you said.
I don't know. It just says like everything he was talking about sounded like it played multiple shows per day.
Gotcha,
So the timestamp stuff didn't make sense to me. I wish it was just the timestamps were basically just like Mr. Bear's Cellar. That's the title to this, and then it talks about it.
Yeah.
Because each one is just talking about a different show, anyways.
Yeah, and really the only one that really the only timestamp that really counts was the August one because that was the one where he almost got taken or was almost the last victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all of them before this could just be the subtitle is like Mr. Bear's Cellar episode 23, Mr. Bear's Cellar episode 28. But then the August one is like when it's a date, it's something that's happening in his life. But when it's just talking about the show, have it just be the title talking about the show.
Yeah, I get you. Also, I do feel like this, because these timestamps are not the timestamp for the blog entry. These are basically this whole first section is just one big story that he wrote on his blog.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, no, I'm just like confirming, reiterating that. I'm not like accusing you of not knowing that. But
I often not know things, so I have to assume that you're assuming I'm an idiot.
No. God. So I do feel also you were talking about the email thing. He has contacted me about this story, slacklelaine@gmail.com.
Oh shit.
Right at the top of the story.
Never mind. Yeah, okay, that's how.
Yeah, but also going back to the thing, so right before the year is 1999, I feel that's where we should get a timestamp of like when this first blog entry was posted. And then all other ones are just the updates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I do feel like the April, like May, June, July, whatever, those ones honestly didn't need to be there because I get, like you said, like the they really don't do anything. The big ones would be like the titles of the episodes he watched, and then like everything else is just paragraphs of like the fluff in between.
And again, they could mean something if it's put down that Camden Local 21 only runs one show all day, all month for that 5-hour period. If that's the case, that's fine. Say so and just say during this month this show was airing. Or
it should also explain like it's like this: the channel only ran a few shows, probably because it was only operational between 4 and 9. I only watched a few. Like I would get bored pretty easily and only watch like a couple of like a half hour to an hour of it, and then I would leave, or I would find another channel. So like that would give it because later on, like he finds that like there were other shows that were playing that he was not aware of because he didn't watch those episodes, or he didn't watch them at those times. So I think it needs to have it needs to have something. It needs to have something extra to add to like explain why he's like dipping in and out of channel 21.
Yeah, you're right. So yes, either of those corrections could help this a lot, I think.
Yeah.
But I shall move on. Mm-hmm. So regarding the camera work of Mr. Bear's Cellar, it says that it's filmed on a crappy camcorder, but it's showing Mr. Bear all the time. So when I was first reading this, I was like, how is this actually physically filmed? As a quote-unquote cameraman myself, not really. Does Mr. Bear have a cameraman?
Mr. Man Bear Pig.
Yeah. Does Mr. Man have a camera bear? No. Does Mr. Bear have a cameraman, or does Mr. Bear like set up the camera, record the scene, get up, turn it off, move the camera to the next spot, record, etc.? I ask this because when it comes to the knocking on the door, they'd be waiting there for him while he sets up the tripod and gets the shot and hits record, goes up, brings the kids in. They walk down past the camera, and then he stops recording, brings the tripod into the other room.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right, because like I kind of got the idea that he was just doing a tripod and it was a one-man job.
And
but
I'm
I
fine
do
with that.
also,
I'm just curious how it's actually being shot.
yeah. The problem is also I remember it saying that the police suspected more than one person was behind this. But I don't, and so like that's kind of where I thought that they're actually a second person, like a camera guy helping him in some of the stuff. But like it seems like it's mostly just Mr. Bear or the guy inside the Mr. Bear costume, like doing stuff and then putting it on a tripod and what have you. But yeah, it should be added. Some extra stuff should be added for that.
It is kind of extra creepy to have him do it all.
Yeah,
but it would make more sense for the show to seem like a real show if there was a cameraman doing it.
Yeah, if there's somebody who is like actually like behind the camera, like pivoting the camera and such.
Yep. And they could be wearing a creepy disguise as well, of course, or what have you.
Yeah, he's Mr. Hare.
Yeah.
he's just a rabbit.
Yep.
This is really just bordering into Five Nights at Freddy's.
It like, kind of is. Yeah.
But this was proto Five Nights, but like yeah, like Mr.
Five
Bear
is
like
this.
Yeah, actually. Mr. Bear is Freddy's. Oh god, it is like the sequel is just like it takes place in an old dilapidated Chuck E. Cheese. Because they were a dime a dozen in that area too.
Yeah.
Like in and around the area where I used to live in around Brampton, like there was like at least like a couple of Chuck E. Cheeses or like those kind of restaurants. So
But yeah, indeed. So moving on. In regards to him like giving his address out and for people to mail him and stuff. I suppose that's how the police eventually caught up to him. We kind of brushed on this.
Yeah.
Because like I guess before he was just taking kids off the street, but as both of you have said before, like 17 kids is a lot of kids to go missing without the cops catching up to him. Like, is he that good?
Also, maybe there were instances where like the address came back on the screen as well, and that's how like some of the kids like found the show and then like went there. But like, were they just like leaving their houses and going by on their own, or were they having similar to what Elliot had, where their parental unit was taking them there and then just leaving them there?
Yeah, and if that's the case, fine. But the parent would come back and be like, "Where's my kid? Why is no one here? I'm going to the police."
Exactly. Or like we even had the kid who's like my sister has to come back or something like that, and like it's like an older kid. It's like, so it's just like, what the hell is going? Like, there's a little bit of indiscrepancy of like how he's getting away with some of this.
I might be confusing this with another story we read recently, but were all the other kids like homeless kids, or is that a different story I'm thinking about?
You're referring to show we did way back a couple weeks ago. A Bad Night with the zombie kids.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, those ones were like it was a big corporation, so the corporation could ghost parents or people who talked and stuff like that.
Right. And this one is probably kids that watch the show, so had a family, and then their families don't care that they're
also in that story, the kids were being kidnapped like by like some thugs, like at random.
We're talking about this story.
Yeah. For this story, like they could have been like locals that went there, or they could have been like maybe Mr. Bear or the guy who played Mr. Bear drives out to like another location, like another town or something. Because again, Caledon is not. The thing is, Caledon isn't actually a like a centralized city or town. It's basically half of Peel region is Caledon.
Yeah.
So it's like kilometers and kilometers of forest, marsh, farmland, and some and urban development. So
he probably just drives around in his white panel van.
Yeah.
And goes to various parks. And kids are like, "Oh, it's Mr. Bear. Can I be on your show?" And he's like, "Fuck yeah, kid. Come on, get in." Probably doesn't say it like that.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, yes, come back."
Oh, fuck yeah, bud. Get in. Let's go for a rip.
God damn it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Here I am trying to make it like do like the creepy Winnie the Pooh voice. And you're like, "Oh, fuck yeah, bud. Let's go."
Well, it's Canadian, right?
Yeah, let's go for a rip. Let's get ourselves a double at Tim Hortons or the Tims.
Get a farmer's wrap too if you're hungry.
Well, that's anachronistic because farmer's wraps are actually only been around for a few years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, fine.
I can't have fun here.
Not when
Okay.
it's 1999.
That's fair. No one had fun in 1999.
Yeah. We'll get some Timbits as well for the little ones.
Mm-hmm. But either way, I'll move on.
Yeah.
So in the February 10th, 2010 entry, this is regarding the dad's friend. He seems to understand my thirst for knowledge on what happened during the late 90s in that house. He feels it was wrong that my dad went so long without telling me much. So personally, me, I disagree with that. His dad let him have a normal childhood. He would have ruined Elliot, like, for the rest of his life if he told him about it sooner. Like, he gets back in the car and Elliot's like, how come I can't go on the show? Well, son, Mr. Bear is a murderer and you are about to be killed.
We narrowly, because of my negligence, we narrowly averted your death. You're
what?
Yeah, 17 children were taken by this man and put into the forest and burned alive. Yeah, I know. It's like I 100% agree with you. Like,
I mean, he's already the worst dad, but at least he's not that bad.
Yeah, like this, like a kid can bounce back from like this little hiccup. I don't know how well they'd be able to bounce back from like being told that they were nearly kidnapped and killed by a serial child murderer.
Yes. So the dad
who's still at large. That's the other thing. The Mr. Bear is still at large. So the kid would be in constant fear that he was going to be taken in the night.
Yep.
Because that's exactly how a kid would react to that. Like, yeah.
So yeah, Michael Winslow. I don't think he was right about that.
Yeah, no, I hard disagree for the ex-cop friend. It's like, yeah, no, like let the kid also have what childhood he still had left.
Yeah, and also like, so he's showing the kid all of these tapes. What, in 2010? So he's, how old is he in 2010?
2010. Shit, I gotta do the math.
He's
2009. So it's 11 years in the future. So he's 5 plus 11. So 16. He's about 15, 16 now. In 2009 to 2010, he would have been about 15 or 16. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about a police officer showing a 16-year-old kid all this stuff, you know?
Well, 16-year-old, 16 years is kind of that like border time.
He's seen some shit by then.
It's that border age. Like he's a teenager. He's becoming an adult. Like, and the to the cop's credit, he is saying, "You sure you want to? You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure you want to do that?" Like, he is that kind of like, he is trying to like, "You sure you want to watch this? This is pretty graphic. Like, it's pretty bad." And like the kid, he was like, "I've watched all the Saw movies. I've watched videos of like animal mutilations and slaughterhouses. I can take it." I couldn't take it.
Yeah. But I'll move on from
that. Okay.
October 7th, 2010. I remembered to visit the storm drain the kids from Caledon Forest told me about. It was out in a clearing between the wooded areas nearby a marsh. Unfortunately, I found absolutely nothing, save for a turtle that retracted into its built-in home when it saw me. I snapped some pics of a pipe, which I have posted as well. Also, let me tell you, it was not the storm drain they said it was. Shame there's no picture.
Yeah.
Though.
I you know what? I remember when I read this, problem is I first read this story on the creepos.wiki back in like 2014ish. So like it was the one that was like tainted by like other people tampering with it and stuff.
Yes.
But I do remember that did have images.
Yeah, so like, is this the original posting?
This is the original. I have done my research, like this is the original one. But there are no images on the blog entry.
Weird.
Yeah.
Because it's written that there's images and there's no image.
Yeah.
So I'm confused.
Yeah.
I'm also surprised I'm the only one that brought that up, but that's fine.
I had actually forgotten about it.
Yeah. These things happen.
Yeah.
Actually, I talked about that, and we talked about that one as well. Never mind. All right, so my last note isn't really a note about this, but it's technically connected tissues time.
Okay.
So I stopped 3/4 of the way through this story after reading it in the morning and went about my day. Then I decided to pick it up later after dinner last night. During dinner, I watched The Hunt for Red October. Great movie and all that. But some connective tissue seems to have happened because of it, because right when the movie ended, I continued reading the story. So in the movie, the main character says that his kid daughter wanted him to buy her a younger brother. She's very young, obviously. He said he couldn't, but he'd buy her a brother for her stuffed animal instead. Then the events of the movie happens, and then at the end scene, it shows him flying home on a plane, and the camera pans down to the seat next to him where there's a stuffed bear he bought for her. A Mr. Bear, perhaps?
A Mr. Bear, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. And then I immediately started reading this about Mr. Bear. It was weird.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's all I got to say about this for now. Until final thoughts.
All right. Well, that's a good segue to final thoughts. So yeah, I said earlier I will conditionally recommend this one, almost bordering on a partial recommendation. So I conditionally recommend this under the pretense that A, you inform the person that it does involve skeevy real world type horror involving kidnapping and killing children. Like as
part of trigger warning at the start?
I don't necessarily think that. I think it's not. It is pretty graphic. Like I wouldn't like. There's a couple of people I know, like Adam from RPX, for example. I would actually be reticent to share this with him, or I would tell him, by the way, just prepare yourself. This does deal with like children being kidnapped and murdered and mistreated. So it's like, because that's one of his things.
Yeah.
So I would maybe like hold off recommending it to him, or like somebody I knew that had similar triggers. Mm-hmm. The other pretense is the reason why I conditionally recommend this, or even like just partially recommend this, by the end it just sort of ends by petering out on a lackluster cliffhanger that I really did not care for.
Yeah.
Like I feel I really enjoyed the 1999 events as they were recalled early on in the story. And I like the early investigations in 2009, 2010. Like those updates. But the longer it went, there were a few too many inconsistencies with time and like things that the character was doing and like age and stuff like that. And I could forgive those, though they need to be fixed. If it had ended with a proper, like, I'm done with this, I can't handle it anymore. That last tape really fucked with me. I'm moving on. Elliot signing off. Like, if those had been his last words and stuff, and that had been the end of it, it would have been fine. Like, I could have tolerated everything else. The fact that it ends on the way it does, I just like, I did not care for it, like the ending. I'm glad I read it way back when, and that it inspired me to keep reading creepypastas. But revisiting it, knowing what I know and having experienced so many other creepypastas and critiquing them and the writing and stuff like that, and like knowing about the writing of like styles and stuff that people use for them and stuff, it was also good to show me more of its flaws than I think I may have given it credit for, or picked up on back in the day when I first read it and when we first did our Lost episode of it. So yeah, I still love the story in 1999. It is still near and dear to my heart, but it is certainly flawed, especially as the story, as the blog and as the updates kept going. Like I think there needs to be some fixes for the updates to make them more coherent and more conclusive. So I will partially recommend this story, and conditionally based on like who I know, who I'm recommending it to. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
So, unfortunately for me, the whole time discrepancies really let this down for me.
That's understandable.
And also as I mentioned before, the whole he seems to have more information, but he's holding back, and then he doesn't give us more information that is seemingly related to what he said he had more information for. So it's just it doesn't make sense to me why this police officer would let this kid watch videos that are in evidence.
Well, they also like
Considering
a decade-old cold case, basically. But
yeah, but they're
Actively,
still considered
because he's still in the
an active cold case. Yeah.
yeah.
So, but it's still it's still evidence.
Yeah.
And people who aren't police aren't privy to the evidence unless there's a court case or something. So it's just that whole thing about just because he's a friend of the police officer. I mean, that he might have some sway to watch one or two videos in that precinct.
Yeah.
But anything beyond that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe if the character had been a little bit older and had been going into like I'd suggested earlier, if the character was going in, if Elliot was going into school for like forensics and stuff, and was like basically going into that kind of a field, and was a little bit older, maybe it would have been excusable for him to like be able to like get in, like pull some favors, but
yeah,
I kind of have him be an adult rather than a teenager. Still looking into this,
yeah, like if he was doing it for a project or something and got clearance somehow because of the university, then yeah, that would solve that.
yeah.
But as it stands, him getting access to not just one precinct but two precincts of videos, like
Yeah.
it just doesn't
like,
seem believable.
Or how about even this? Like, what if, because it mentions that like some of the tapes were found at a public library in Brampton. Like the police recovered some tapes from a public library in Brampton. What if that had been like how he found some of the tapes? Was that he was just at the library and he was going through some tapes for a project and saw some tapes labeled like Mr. Bear's Cellar or something, like on the shelves. Like that could have been a way for the character as a teenager to get into that or to find that kind of stuff.
And he like watches it and then turns it over to the police, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So then that's why he has a little bit of favor with the police.
Yeah, or at the very least, like he watched it first, then he brought it to the police because like, holy shit, this is basically fucked up like criminal footage. And then like even if he doesn't get into it, like at least he's seen some of the footage, and like it would also like you could maybe ground it a little bit more in realism of like, well, no, they're not, cops are obviously not going to give it to him like the information, but they are at least on his side because he provided them with some new clues and evidence to this case, this like decades long cold case. So yeah, I see your point on it. Like some of it is like obviously like a little fantastical in terms of like how this kid is getting into things, but like
yeah, and honestly, he has more of an obsession for something from years ago. Like, yeah, it's cool to go back and rewatch like old clips from YTV or old shows they used to watch. Unfortunately, in Canada, watching old shows is really a pain.
I know, unless you go to like like there's some archivists out there that are actually like able are like pulling on like crowdsourcing of like finding like old broadcast history stuff. Like Retro Ontario does a pretty good job of like trying to archive old shows and material from like on podcasts, but yeah, sorry.
But yeah, so it just as it stands, I do not recommend this.
Okay, fair enough. Gamer.
So for me, I liked the story at first, pre doing this recording with you guys,
I'm sorry.
because basically when I read through it, there were timestamps. They were there. I didn't look into them, so I completely overlooked all of the time-related discrepancies.
Yeah.
So I just read it as it is. He
So you
said
live
it's been a
yeah.
while. That's fine. Like I didn't look into that. So when you read it at face value like that, it's fine. There's not
Yeah.
too many grammar problems that I had to stumble over. I was sad that there was no missing picture in that one point. I don't know why that's not there, but the story itself went pretty well when you don't think about all the time stuff.
Yeah.
However, when you do realize all the time related discrepancies in this and how a lot of it doesn't make sense because everything is dated, it kind of ruins it a little bit, pulls back my enjoyment of it when you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this story would work better without any dates. It's just like I watched these back in 1999. It is now
2009
I'm
or whatever. I'm
looking back into the past now because of reasons like, but don't state all these actual dates and like put updates. Like I've updated it now. Update 1, update 2, update 3. Nothing specific. Because if you remove all that specificity, then all of our problems basically go away. Because it's pretty much all tied to the dates.
Yeah.
And like, yes, Elliot's dad's not the best because he drove him over there without witnessing what he's actually signing up for.
Yeah.
But still, that's just traditional negligent parents in horror-related media. You know, that's just the way they are.
Also, that does kind of tend to happen in real life sometimes too, but it's also very pronounced. It comes up more in horror.
Yeah, things were more lax in the 90s, sure, but still. But the character of Mr. Bear and all of the different iterations of shows he makes are cool. I personally thought they were all being played on the same day, like maybe the same 5 shows every single day for the whole month or something. But it didn't say that. I kind of wish there was a little. I wish there was more clarity throughout the story about like how things work, because this is all about the Camden Local 21 station.
Yeah.
So like there should be everything should make sense about that, or at least we should understand it. Like it played these 5 shows every day or something, or it played one show over and over for the whole day. Like if that's the case, fine. Or as you said, explain that Elliot doesn't sit there for the whole 5 hours and watch everything on the whole day. Because as a kid back in the 90s, you could just sit there for 5 hours and just watch TV. Like what else do you have better to do, you know? So
you know, I wonder, like, I know that like at the time when this was first created, it was being fed like through updates and stuff like as a blog format. But I wonder, like now, like if the creator was like to take the material now, and like I had mentioned earlier that like I liked how like the first section of it where it was just like kind of if it had been just at the like that retelling of the accounts from the 1999 event, if that had just been done into like a short story, it would have been a succinct, nice creepypasta short story. I wonder too if the person takes the material they have now from like all these updates, got rid of all the timestamps and like got rid of the update like format, and had just and converted this into a story of like basically the person telling it from this, like he is like from the last update and he is recounting everything up to that point that has happened.
Yeah.
I wonder if that would have been if that would make the story a lot more concise, a lot more like a lot less confusing in terms of like dealing with the time stuff and all that. Because
either be vague with the time and say, "Wow, it's been like a year," or "It's been months."
Yeah, get rid of all that stuff.
You either have to do it vague, or you make sure that the timestamps are proper.
Yeah,
that they all make sense, and he's not going to university at 15.
Yeah, exactly. Like no, don't give us the age of the character. Just or like if like is like he was 5 in 1999.
Because that's the other thing too. If they just didn't say his age and just said he was a kid, in one of those recordings there was like a 11-year-old kid there.
Exactly. We could assume that he's older than like, and then like it says like Mitchell Williams. Is that his
Michael
name?
Winslow.
That's your name for Mitchell Wilson.
I know.
Mitchell
Yes.
Wilson. If he he's like, it's like he made me promise to like wait till I was 20 to watch the show. Well, I was 20 rolled around, and I was still adamant about watching the episodes. Like, that's all we gotta know. Then we know that like he was a kid in 1999, not 5 years old necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we now know that he turned 20 and saw the last video. So now, yes, he is blah age at 99 to get to 20.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, if you don't have the first age, then the first age is given to you then. Yes.
Yeah. Like
For sure.
ambiguity can be like vagueness and ambiguity in stories can be helpful for like you don't always have to know exactly. You either you need to know you need to have the right amount of ambiguity or the right amount of specificity.
Yes, and this doesn't kind of do either.
Yeah, either i.e. the specificity that makes it all correlate together and not like, wait, that's a plot hole, that's a time plot hole. That this person's 5 in 99, but like 20 and 20 in 2011. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's fine. But
yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
No more talk of time. We are done with time. The story itself, though, I really did like because it's a realistic horror story of something that could theoretically happen.
Yeah.
You know, of this creepy guy that's luring kids and doing unknown things to them. It's not cool in the coolest way possible in regards to wanting to read a story to get creeped out, because as a creepy story, it is creepy. And it like leaves you wondering like what would have happened to him, you know, and it puts you in. And in your case, you were literally in this kid's shoes. So
I was like I literally could like insert my like self-insert a younger me into Elliot's shoes, because I basically experienced like I had the same life experience as his childhood, minus
Mr.
going
Bear.
minus Mr. Bear and going to a creepy skeevy house and almost getting kidnapped and killed.
Yes, but everything else,
that I'm allowed to say anyway. Also, I just kind of like realized it's like there is also a real life precedence for this public access TV show kind of like being aired because of the broadcast hacks in Chicago in like the late 80s, early 90s with like the Mitch Hedberg guy or the Mitch Hedberg broadcast, where like somebody like managed to like basically like rewire or like create a frequency that was stronger than the news broadcast and basically intercede their own video footage into the broadcast.
Yeah.
So that is actually a very plausible thing to have done if you have the right tools and stuff with that.
Or just rent like what Mr. Bear did.
Yeah.
And he explains how he's getting away with it, but like in the States, they would have been on top of him about it.
But Canada's broadcasting might be regulations are a bit different.
More lax back then,
yeah. Because I even like we even had like on I don't think it was YTV, but I think it might have been on like Much Music or one of those channels, one of those other channels. One of the YTV PJs, Phil Guerrera, I believe is his last name. He went on after YTV to host a show called Public Access or Public Access or something like that, where he basically like they watched videos and stuff like that. It was like pre-YouTube videos, like home video stuff that people would submit to their show. And I believe they called it like Public Access something. Now I gotta look that up. But yeah, so like it's like there's a lot of like really weird, kind of cool and creepy like broadcast stuff associated with Ontario.
For sure. But either way, the story itself, as I said, I do like it. There are a lot of things that can be done to make it better. No story's perfect, obviously, but we did stumble over a lot of stuff. Not even talking about time stuff. There are still a lot of oddities in the story, like missing pictures and the dad seeming to not give a shit. Like maybe if it was explained that he was a negligent parent anyways, then okay. But it's because nothing's said about him, you assume he's a normal, nice dad.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm going to give it a partial now because I see the flaws in the actual writing here that I believe should be changed. But the story itself, I really do like, and I believe I wish it was better.
Yeah.
Just like if it was more readable and there's no way to get stuck in plot holes and time-related discrepancies and all that.
Yeah.
But the story itself, I really do like. So I'm going to say It's a partial. It needs work, but the story itself is good.
Yeah, and I actually do want to bring one thing up, like at the end here. At no point do we condone like somebody taking a story and like of somebody else's and plagiarizing it and like adding things to, or like adding things and then making it seem like it was the original creator.
Correct.
And like and then like even plagiarizing other material to make entries and stuff. But that said, I get why people did do that early, like in like the 2014 era, because like the story it is like as it is there. You kind of go in by the end of it, you want more. So I can understand why people wanted to do that. It's just really shitty that a lot of that stuff, like a lot of the places this got reposted and people took advantage of like an open source kind of like thing like the wiki page and stuff, where they would add plagiarized entries into
that shit is not cool.
Yeah, absolutely do not condone any of that. And like I think it was right for the author for Camden Lamont to like cease and desist sort like the various things and stuff like that. But I do think like they're like the original material here, there is work or there's some stuff that could be improved, obviously. But yeah, like we said, like two out of three of us really enjoyed what we got. And like there is some room for improvement that could maybe make Mikey like this stuff again, like the story.
It would 100%. Okay, Mikey, time out the window. Throw that shit right through the window.
Yeah, just like.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Defenestrate that time bullshit.
Yeah.
Defenestrate the timestamps.
Do you like the story at that point if all the time-related problems were fixed?
Well, the problem is that there's still the cop letting him view the tapes.
Yeah, so there's something that would have to be improved for like Mikey, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean like technically the only creepy part of this that the character feels firsthand is going to that farmhouse the first time with his dad. And it's like, oh, I can't see Mr. Bear. That's as close as he gets to Mr. Bear.
I'm gonna have
technically feet away from being killed.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to also disagree with like I understand where you're coming from. I was like, oh, the only scary thing was that. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. There are a bunch of things in the story that are really fucking creepy, and like that is what the story is trying to do. So yeah,
it's creepy, but it's almost like a video game pasta because he's just watching videos
and investigating a murder like a murder thing where the killer has not been caught. So there is sort of like there's a little bit more of a subtle like the killer could still be out there watching him, stalking him as he's diving deeper into.
He is still out there stalking.
Yeah, he is still out there. Yeah,
he went to Caledon.
That's true. Yeah, if we assume that email is Mr. Bear, which I'm not entirely certain it is, but I mean it could be.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I guess yeah, we're backtracking back into the episode.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry. Got the thoughts out. Yeah, so brass tacks. One non-recommendation, two partial recommendations with some conditional things because not everybody likes child murder and abuse.
Not that we like it.
Not that we like it. It's just that we can tolerate it.
We will tolerate
in stories.
It, yes.
In fiction. Story. In fiction.
Yes. Really
and we're getting closer and closer to this being the second last episode.
Yeah, really.
It's the 1999 curse for El Dente. But yeah, so with that, before we dig ourselves too deep into a hole,
that we have to set ourselves on fire in.
yeah, nice. That has been this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're all on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end because his name is very long.
It is, but I don't have a choice at this point. It's a bit
no. And I'm at Review Cultist. I'm also at Review Cultist on Blue Sky, the other social media platform that's kind of growing right now. So you can check me out there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. where you can also leave suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tiers with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the author of this story, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, you'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without the story, this blog style story that you wrote and posted online and captured the imagination and horror of hundreds of thousands of people online, myself included, we literally would not have this show because we'd have nothing to talk about. And this is the story that got me on the path of creepypastas. So
this is your fault.
Thank you, kind sir.
It's your fault he's like this. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, if it wasn't creepypastas, it would be like the Cthulhu mythos or Stephen King or something else. So I'm happy where I am in life.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the U stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Happy New Year! Sleep well. Horrifying. Sorry, I just got like a weird like like off my phone. I was like, what the fuck is that? And it's my dad like notifying me his position on his trip.
Okay.
Because of an app he has. Yeah. Sorry.
Super horrifying.
It was kind of like it was like I played like the sound itself was like creep like it was like a jump scare.
I had a way more horrifying thing happen to me like 20-30 minutes ago. I was just sitting here listening to you. Then all of a sudden my Xbox just turned on. Just for no reason. It just turned itself on. Becoming self-aware, guys.
Oh, it's crazy. You're starting to dive into a video game creepypasta. It's Xbox Live 3.
And as soon as it booted up, it didn't go to the main screen. It went to a huge splash page saying buy Call of Duty 3 across my entire TV.
What the fuck?
I don't play Call of Duty, fuck you.
Oh, that is hilarious.
I took a screenshot of it. I'll share it after.
Awesome.